like to welcome you to Ilara Court. But above all else, I'd like to welcome my brother, the President of Ghana, to Ilara Court, and to say to you that it has been our distinct pleasure to be able to have this President and his delegation visit us in Barbados today as part of their Caribbean tour. And we are conscious that this for us goes beyond just a normal presidential visit. This is about family, and this is about two nations rediscovering each other because our peoples have a common heritage. And the more that we spoke this morning, the more that we became confirmed in our views that we have a historic opportunity to change the trajectory of centuries of history. So Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor of the University, joined us, and he reminded us that centuries ago, Barbados was known as Little Ghana. He didn't need to tell us that, because in everything that we discussed, we found similarities. Similarity first and foremost of principle and philosophy. Our two countries value above all else the education and the healthcare and security of our peoples. That is the Barbadian way. We have learned that is the Ghanaian way. Our two countries recognize that we cannot go into the third decade of the 21st century without creating the bridge across the Atlantic. For the Atlantic must not be defined by the Middle Passage, but it must be defined by the return, which is in this year of our Lord, the year for Ghanaians to be able to invite those from the diaspora back, as you will hear from Mr. President. Similarly, we recognize that our future security is stabilized by that which we can control, which means not only our physical well-being and our development of our people, but also our ability to be able to have freedom, which is choice. And choice is determined in a highly competitive world by those things which we can control through financing the major strategic assets of our countries, to be able to create the opportunities for wealth and for sharing among our peoples. And we recognize that for too long, our countries have been influenced by those things that either come from the north or go to the north. And that in the words of Nkrumah, we are not interested in the north or the south, we are interested in going forward. In our case, our going forward is to do so not alone, but with ours who believe in the same things that we do, and with those persons who share the same ideals that we do. We believe that today we have reconfirmed that our nations are kindred spirits from the same people, and that we have those same interests. In very tangible ways, we have agreed to move beyond that which was a cultural, scientific, and technological agreement of 2005 to have an aid memoir completed at the end of today's visit that reflects serious action and progress beyond the bonds of kindred spirits. Actions with respect to transportation, both air and maritime transportation between the Caribbean and Africa. For it is a crying shame and scandal that as we go into the third decade of the 21st century, there is no direct scheduled air link between Africa and the Caribbean, and in particular between West Africa and the Eastern Caribbean. Similarly, that we need to be able to create the opportunities for both of our countries, our hubs, Ghana opening up the gateway to Africa, and Barbados opening up the gateway to the Caribbean and to Latin America, and therefore maritime transportation, properly structured, can be an area in which we find tremendous opportunities for cooperation. Similarly, we've recognized that the opportunities for renewable energy, in particular solar, and in that respect, not just the science of renewable energy, but also the investment opportunities for both of our citizens to be able to move forward to help us reach the goal of being able to rely more and more on renewable energy and less on fossil fuel as we go forward, to help stabilize this world in the battle against climate change that is hurting us both in the Caribbean as well as in Africa. We've also recognized that the opportunities are not just in the distant future, and immediately, as many of you know, Barbados has been facing an acute nursing shortage, and we have agreed that immediately We will pursue the exchange of nurses and to secure nurses initially, but also agree to joint education of nurses as we go forward in order to stabilize our healthcare sector in Barbados. Similarly, we've also agreed, and I announced formally today, we spoke about it in our budget, in the preparation of our estimates earlier this year. But during the course of this year, before the end of this fiscal year, the government of Barbados will open a small embassy in Accra as its first ever diplomatic resident embassy in the continent of Africa. And Mr. President, it is with this I say we are coming home, because we believe, as we have been told, that the majority of Barbadians are in fact descended from the people of Ghana. And I think you better than me can reinforce that comment. And with those words, therefore, I would like to invite you to speak to our guests and to the media. Thank you, sir.
Madam Prime Minister, thank you very much. And thank you especially for the invitation to come here and for the very warm welcome that we have received since we arrived this morning. The opportunity to come here to Barbados to redefine and cement the relations between our two countries, find a platform which would allow us to accentuate and develop those relations, and also to allow me the opportunity to bring to your attention what we're doing in Ghana about the year of return. We have taken a very firm decision that we're never going to permit ourselves to be in that situation again. And we think that you're joining us to commemorate this year of return in Ghana would be a very powerful statement that on both sides of the Atlantic, the people of African descent have made this commitment. And secondly, to use the platform as a means, a mechanism for solidifying the relations between us in the eastern part of the Atlantic and you on the western part of the Atlantic. We think it's very important, CARICOM, ECOWAS, CARICOM, the African Union, individual states, Ghana, Barbados, that we use this occasion to solidify the relations between us. And fortunately, the discussions that took place today have been very, very productive and very fruitful. We've found it possible that in education, in health, economic intercourse, cultural exchanges, and a broad range of activities involving the cooperation between your university and the universities in Ghana have given us many, many possible avenues of progress and development and joint development. It's very, very important that once the visit is over and we go back, the momentum that is meant to be created out of this visit is maintained. And it can only be maintained if the various things that we agree that we're going to do, supply of nurses, this, that, and the others, all of them, we actually do them. That is what, therefore, will make meaningful today's meeting and exchange. We have a surplus of nurses. Placing them all in our public health system is one of my headaches, because there's been a lot who have been produced, and for several years I've not been able to do anything with it. So I'm going back. I'll be back in Accra on Monday. The week after, the Prime Minister will hear from me on this matter of the nurses.
And I want to thank you. We've indicated that we are searching for just under 400 nurses, so it's not a small number. And we really do believe that this is a wonderful opportunity of cooperation between our two countries. I want to thank you for doing us the signal honor of being the first president of Ghana to visit Barbados. I want to say to you that it is in the year of return is even more special, that it is on the eve of our own preparations for regathering is comforting, that you are now going to be the first head of state to, outside of Barbados's own, to address the joint sitting of Parliament this evening is intended to be the signal honor that we want to accord to you, because we believe truly that you have come home. And I think that this moment will allow our citizens to begin that journey back home as well as to allow you to recognize that in spite of the winds of the northeast trade winds, that nothing can blow us apart or blow us down. So with those words, sir, I'd
Madam
like
Prime
to
Minister, thank you so much.
thank you.
Made it to end up that to me this is a dream. I'm in the country of Garfield Sobers. I am a cricket fanatic and I loved it. I saw him in my youth, never forgotten. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President of Ghana and Honorable Prime Minister of Barbados.